Hi, Monique. It's so good to have you with us today.
Thank
I'm
you so
so I'm
much.
really looking forward to this time together. And some people might not know you, so if you could just share a little bit about yourself and what you do, not just at church, but in your home life and your outside of church life as well.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Cathie, for the invitation to have this conversation. It is an honor, and I am honored, privileged to be here with you today. So, for those who do not know me, my name is Monique Brooks. I am a native of California, San Diego to be exact. Born and raised right here in San Diego, have been here pretty much all of my life. I mean, I've resided in Virginia for a period of time, South Korea for a period of time, but I found myself right back here at home in San Diego. I am proud to say that I am 42 years old. Looking forward to growing even older and wiser as God sees fit. I am a member of the Bayview Church here in San Diego, have been for all of my life. The pastor before my husband would joke and say that I was born on a pew. Because it pretty much is what it is. We're three generations in. My grandparents were there with the founding pastor, which was 3 pastors ago. And my mother got there at the age of 4. So we
Oh,
have
wow.
been, we're deeply rooted in Bayview. And so I am proud to say that I am married to the best pastor on this side of the world, Terry Wayne Brooks. He is our senior pastor. He is our visionary. He is our fearless leader. And he came and found me at Bayview. He himself has been in full-time ministry since the age of 21, been preaching since the age of 8. He preached his very first sermon on a wooden box that his older brother made for him to stand at the podium on his 8th birthday. And so he has been doing God's work for a very, very long time. And God saw fit to relocate him here to San Diego in 2011, but to Bayview in 2013.
Okay.
And so he went from executive pastor and teacher to now being senior pastor. And so we are just so blessed to have him. So I've seen how Bayview has transitioned and transformed from what it used to be to what it is today. And just happy, just extremely blessed to be in the room is what I like to say, to be used in such a way that God is using me. I am the director of our Christian counseling and mental health ministry. I also teach or facilitate suicide prevention training called Question, Persuade, Refer through the San Diego, that's through San Diego County. And I am a Pilates instructor. I am also a personal fitness trainer. I am a mother of 2 young men. The oldest will be 24 this year. The youngest will be 18 this year.
Wow.
Yes, so I'm a boy mom. I'm a Gaga. That's what my godchildren call me.
Aw.
3 beautiful godchildren who are also here in San Diego, so we get to enjoy them. But that is a little bit, and in the pandemic, I actually became a Pilates instructor and a personal fitness trainer. And I also launched my very first book in a pandemic.
Wow.
So January of 2020 is when my book From a Mess to a Miracle launched to the world. So that's just a little bit about me. My parents are still here in San Diego with me. My older brother, I'm the oldest. My younger brother, he and his family are here with me. My sister is in Detroit with her family. And so, yeah, that's where we are. And that's just a little bit about.
Yes, well, that is a rich heritage that you have in the San Diego area, and just being able to see how God has transitioned and moved and prepared you even for a time of pandemic with mental health, when we see that certainly on the rise, and also just being able to connect with your community through Pilates and the other things you're doing. That's really exciting to hear. Is there anything in particular that God has been teaching you over the last several months, or something in your faith journey that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I think it's about being emotionally healthy, is where I am, is the space that I'm occupying in my life right now. As I mentioned, I am a Christian counselor certified and mental health advocate. And so I've been doing that now since 2018. I'm in full-time ministry as a volunteer staff. So all the work that I do is completely volunteer. I also go into the prisons and do ministries with the women's prison as well. But going back to your question, being in a space of becoming emotionally healthy as a Christian counselor, having gone through schooling and being, educated, getting my master's and all that jazz and seminary, and then doing the work and being on the front line, if I may. I came to the realization that I too needed someone to talk to. And although I've had it, previously, years ago, I've come to the realization that I need it now. Not necessarily that anything is wrong, not necessarily that I'm, having, depressive days or anything like that, because I've experienced that. I've lived with depression and anxiety, have experience with that, I should say. But just making sure that I am doing what I need to do for me so that I can continue to do the work that God has purposed for me. And part of that is making sure that I am emotionally healthy. And so I have recently gone back to counseling. And I always say counselors need counselors, preachers need counselors. People just need counselors, And so I've decided in 2022 that I wasn't going to move forward the way that I did in the past couple of years. And so in doing so, I've also been reminded that doing my work here personally will help me in the space that God has purposed me for. So it's exciting, actually. It is nerve-wracking at times.
Yes.
It is scary at times. But I am encouraged every time I meet with my counselor. She's just amazing, and she's very reassuring, and she's of the faith as well. So we have that in common. And so it's just helping me. It's like a tune-up, just making sure that I'm good on the inside so that I can keep doing the work that God has for me. So, and it's really important to me to make sure that I'm in a space where I am emotionally fit to continue to carry on, other people's burdens and there's stuff that they unpack with me so that I can effectively help them through with the help of the Holy Spirit, of course, facilitate their transformation and their healing and their progress in moving forward to be better just for themselves. Yeah.
Yes, that is very important. And as a certified biblical counselor myself, it is such important that we just have a space where we can share our struggles and our joys. But it's a part of loving one another, really, is just being in that tight-knit community and kind of destigmatizing what it means to talk about our problems and our issues, because we all are going to have things and we can stuff them all down and they can come out in inappropriate ways, or we can process them with a wise counselor who is strong in the Lord and in his word and gives us truth that we apply in those places. And it is such a critical time coming out of a pandemic when not necessarily created more problems, but maybe people had more opportunity to think them or to be exposed in situations of quarantine and not being able to get out. And so the skills that you're learning are going to be very useful. And our
Mhm.
God is a God of compassion, that he gives us compassion so that we can share that with others.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And I agree wholeheartedly. We've had to be in a space where we're faced with our stuff. We couldn't, and even the people,
Yes.
that we live with, that we're having to now, are we going to attack it? Are we going to deal with it? Or are we going to keep stuffing it, like you said? And so I do agree with you. Did it create, this pandemic create some problems? Sure, it has.
Yeah.
But it also revealed
Yes.
that were already there, right? And so,
Exactly.
yes. And in, like you said, in loving others, it begins with loving ourselves and making a decision to do better, which will also then in turn affect other people in a positive way. It can affect people in a positive way. So yeah, we gotta think greater than just us, because the mission that we've been commissioned with is bigger than just us individually. So
Exactly. It takes us all together. And
mhm.
I think part of the things that come along with some emotional issues are just different conceptions of truth and love and what that looks like. And as
Mhm.
we're in February, there's certainly a lot of images of love that we see commercialized, like teddy bears and
Mhm.
hearts and balloons and all the cute stuff.
Right.
But when it comes down to really loving people and getting to the nitty gritty and walking through problems with people, I mean, you and I know that's not so cute, and
Right.
it's not so
Right.
pretty either.
Right. It's hard.
And I know that you and I have talked before, but just about the importance of creating a space
Mhm.
where people can be seen and loved. And that is a huge part of loving one another, is that that person feels like they are seen and heard. And you
Mhm.
coming from a rich ethnic background, but also your history of faith and being in California for all your life, I would love to hear your perspective of how you could help us
Mhm.
coming from different places to really create a space for one another.
Mhm. Thank you for asking that question. It's a very deep, it's a deep,
Yes, we don't have time for all of it,
you really
but
don't. It's very loaded. And so I think for me, I believe as Christians, we have to go back to the one who created love.
Mm,
I think we have to go back to the one who laid the foundation of what
mm,
love is and what love is not, right?
yes.
I think we have to go back to the one who he himself is love, right?
Amen.
And so if we are of the faith and we say we believe God's word, we know his promises, and we believe his promises, and we look forward to receiving his promises, then that's where we have to go back to
Mhm.
in regards to love. I think one of the misconceptions is that because we're human, that we get to dictate what love looks like and what it
Mm,
doesn't look like. And as
mm,
Christians, we don't have that opportunity. It's already been laid out for us.
right.
And so we have to be careful not to come up with our own rules and our own guidelines as it concerns love. And so, going back to creation, that was one of the beautiful, the most beautiful gifts that we received
Mm,
as an expression of God's love was creation. He created, back
mm,
in Genesis, it says that in the beginning, he created the heavens and the earth. And throughout those 6 days, it was so much more that he spoke into, and it became to existence, right? Then there was Adam and Eve, which means that's how we came to be, right?
yes.
So he not only created Adam and Eve, but from that lineage, then eventually here we are eons, of
Mm,
course, later. And so, starting with God's foundation of what love is and what it is not, then
mm,
looking at his expressions of love. And not only in creation, but then, in John 3:16, it said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And, I talked about him, giving his son already. But for us, expression of love. He gave his son for us.
Mm.
But it's that word gave for me, right? For God so loved the world that he gave. And so to me, that speaks volumes when it comes to how I love. Am I loving, expecting something in return, or am I loving to give of myself? Right?
That's great.
And so again, as Christians, we have to go back to that foundation. We have to go back to what God says love is and what God says love is not. And then realizing that in giving of ourselves, we then in turn could receive love back, right? But we don't go into it looking to receive back.
Right.
Right. And so I think those are some of the misconceptions in regards to what love looks like. We're also told, in 1 Corinthians 13, what love is and what it is not, right? And so it's foundation. We didn't make that up. We can't take it away because it wasn't ours to take away. But we are told what love is and what it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast. And then it ends with it never ends.
Yes.
Never ends. And I think that's a beautiful thing because that means we have opportunities to continue to get it right. Right. And so maybe
practice.
Yes, we get to practice. So maybe I didn't do it right yesterday or last week or last month or last year. But if I'm given another day of breath, then I can get it right, hopefully the next time. And so just going back, and I keep saying this, going back to our foundation, to God's word that he left here with us, and realizing that we can't make up our own rules and guidelines as it concerns love. And something else, and then I'm gonna move on past this, but because I think this is really interesting. Another misconception that comes to mind is the fact that love is unconditional. We as humans don't have the capacity to love unconditionally.
That's true.
There's levels to love, which means there's conditions that come with those levels, right? And it's a beautiful thing if we look at it for what it is. I don't love your husband the way you love your husband. You don't love my husband the way I love my husband, because that's yours and he's mine.
Right. And we'd be in a lot of trouble.
We absolutely would be, right? I don't love someone else's children as I do mine, because these are my children and those are their children. Those are the conditions. This belongs to me, that belongs to you. Now, does that mean I'm not required to love? Absolutely not. We're still required to love one another as we love ourselves, right? That's what Mark tells us, right? And so with this misconception of loving unconditionally, I think that puts the pressure of having to be perfect in love. And we don't have to, once we realize we don't have the capacity to love unconditionally. Only God does. Because again, he created us, he created love, he is love. So he dictates what that looks like, what that feels like, what it is not, right? What it doesn't feel like. So those are just some of the misconceptions that I'm like, yeah, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty of them. When we're back, I love you unconditionally. Yeah, right. Like that's not true, because just as soon as something happens, it's like, all right, we're done. We're out of here, right? So that was that puppy love. But
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So,
and I know that we could talk about this for a really long time, and hopefully we will have more opportunities to talk further. But I really like what you said about going back to the creator of love, and it wasn't Cupid or any of those things, but it was the Lord. And he has showed us not only through his word, but by his very example, like you said, of giving his own son. And while we are not capable of loving unconditionally, we get to practice, and we get to practice to be more like him. And that is such a wonderful word, and so challenging and convicting.
Yeah.
As you said, you know, you don't get it right. I don't get it right. We don't all get it right.
Mhm.
But we receive the love from God so that we can pass that on to others.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate your time. I wish we had longer, but
I know.
I do hope that this sparks more conversations that we can have for people. And we'd love to put your link to the book
Okay.
maybe on our slide or down below. And so we'll look forward to having more conversations with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cathie. It's been nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.